Well, Reeks.
like like we say is that we're not the Katie Days and the Brad McCallums and things like that. So we're not the ones that are teaching about AI and how you don't have to do any business and let AI do everything and social media and stuff. And ours is kind of you actually have to work at this in order to make a really good living. So
Well, eventually,
yeah,
if even if you have social media and you're getting all your leads from social media, you're eventually going to have to write a contract, and you're
you're actually
eventually
going to
going
have
to have to do
inspections. So you're
inspection.
going to actually be good with this because I know we've talked about inspections and how to negotiate and stuff like that. So that's what I'm not sure if you saw what the topic was going to be, Maria, but we're talking about inspections today and basically, first of all, some do's and don'ts when it comes to inspections. And then the next one is just going to be the different inspections that you want to do with your clients. And I know different parts of the country, like wood destroying insects are probably much more prevalent in Florida than they are here. So we don't, I mean, we always do those, but the things that I want to get kind of on the record would be the do's regarding inspection. And so the first one is make sure that your clients, if you're a buyer's agent, make sure that your clients do an inspection. And for some reason, if they want to waive it, and that's the problem right now is that we're still multiple offer situations. And some buyers want to make their offer really, really attractive. So they'll waive their inspection, which is totally their right. But my suggestion in those situations is get it in writing, not only in the contract, but get an addendum or something saying, against my advice, the buyers is waiving their inspection and not doing an inspection. Because the one thing I'm always scared of, and I know with our buyers agents, I'm scared of it, is something happens after they move in. They say, well, we were told not to do an inspection. There's nothing in writing. They have a sales contract that they signed, waiving the inspection. But I'd like to have one extra layer of protection by saying, against advice of the buyer's agent, buyer
Yeah,
has decided to waive.
that's not, I wouldn't use that language so much, only as that, buyer was advised by realtor to have an inspection and has chosen to waive that right. So
Is there an addendum now or something? I thought I
we just
saw
write it in a set. I haven't seen one. I,
write it in the contract.
so obviously you're not going to check the inspection boxes and all that stuff. So it's not there. I actually have agents put it right in the other section,
So
and
what do you have them write in there?
in the contract, I generally just say that the buyer's waived inspection. In the separate addendum, I am clear that the buyer's agent has advised the buyer to have an inspection and has chosen to waive that right.
Now,
I don't want to say against my advice. That's all I'm trying to
my
say.
only concern about doing it as an addendum is that if you do it as an addendum, then all parties are going to acknowledge that and see that.
Yeah.
So that's why I would do it outside of the contract.
Well, there's both.
Just
I do both.
just because I don't really want the seller to be part of that conversation. I want that just to be between the buyer and myself. So that's a couple different ways to handle it. I'd rather,
It really could be a part of.
or I would just send an email just saying, hey, based on our conversation, I just wanted, just say, just put in writing that, you decided to waive your inspection on this. Just reply back, that's the
I
case or
agree.
something.
Yes.
Yep. And again, is it ever going to come in if you don't do it? Probably not. But like I said, I never want to be the first person where it happens, where I'm the test case. And so that's just one of the things that I just be cognizant of it and also just make sure that your buyer is fully aware of kind of what they're doing. The next do is have a conversation. This is again coming from a buyer's standpoint. is have a conversation prior to inspection regarding the expectations of what the inspection is for. So one of the things I think is a problem, and I know for a fact that there are some agents out there that in these multiple offer situations, they go 30,000 over list price and oh, someone just turned off. She just turned it
Who turned the light off? Who's here?
off. We're on a Zoom.
We're zooming. Bye.
But as far as the expectations of the inspection, so there's some agents that what they'll do is they'll get their person in primary position and they'll say, we'll just renegotiate after the contractor's inspection. So our goal is just to get in the primary position. Then we're just going to renegotiate after the contractor's inspection, which I understand why they do it. And I understand, the concept, but it doesn't go off very well. And what ends up happening a lot, and we know, is that agents get a reputation for doing that, and the real estate community is a small community, so you'll figure that stuff out pretty quickly. The other aspect of it is what I tell when again, I've had a couple of buyer inspections, is I tell them right up front, the reason we're doing this inspection, the main things that we're looking for are safety issues, big items such as roof, plumbing, furnace, things like that. We're not looking for marks on the walls and things like that. And then I also use the concept, like I just had someone that was buying and selling, and put them as from an empathy standpoint. If you were the seller and you came back and asked them for marks on walls or you're renegotiating, how would you feel about that? And then the other aspect of that too is what I tell them is the reasonableness test. Is what we want to do is we want to go through the items on the inspection, and are these reasonable to ask the seller to take care of? And vice versa, I do the same thing with the seller. When we get that list from the buyer, I tell them, let's just take, and a lot of times they'll be upset and stuff like that. I said, don't worry about it. Let's just go through these one at a time, and let's figure out, is it reasonable or is it not reasonable? And then we'll come up with a credit amount. And again, that's another thing that I much prefer to deal with credits than actually having our clients do any repairs. And I can go into that a little bit more if anyone wants to know about that as well.
And that holds true for your buyer too. I mean, I'm a firm believer in I want to hire who's going to fix it, unless it's something major and clearly you have to get somebody good. But
and from the seller standpoint, what the reason why we'd rather deal with the credit is, let's say we go and hire a contractor to do it, and after down the road something happens and they say the it wasn't done correctly, or then that becomes an issue too. That I'd much rather just give them the money. They can do it at any level they want, and then whatever contract they have between themselves and the plumber, the HVAC is between them. There's not another party that's in the middle of asking if something got done. So that's kind of why I prefer to deal with credits. So.
For sure. And the buyer, the exact same thing. I want my done my way. So one of the I didn't even see that in there. Dave's sneaking stuff in.
Well,
So
this one will be a good one for Maria too. Yeah.
This is kind of a controversial topic as
Right.
well, because some people positively just are. There are two sides to this story. We firmly believe that an agent, or you're the buyer's agent, or at least someone, we're lucky we have a team. We can send somebody if you can't be there, if it's crazy. But you need to have a representative for your buyer there. Got to be there. How are you going to help anybody if you're not there? And the other side of the coin of this is, agents that don't go to inspections and say, no, I'm not going, is then they don't ever get liable. I'm not a contractor, I know, but I've done a lot of them. I know way more about well and septic than I ever dreamed I wanted to, but we are the be at the inspection people.
So we're starting to see a lot more of attorneys that are saying, do not be at the inspection. You're putting yourself in a position of liability, and I could not disagree more to that particular frame of mind or position for a couple different reasons. First one would be is if I went and read my exclusive buyer agency contract with my client, my guess is in there it's going to be pretty clear that you're supposed to be doing what's in your client's best interest. And I don't see any situation where you not being there is not in their best interest for a couple different reasons. The first one, just liability standpoint from anything happening in the house would be the first one. The second one is if you're going to have to negotiate a contractor's inspection with the other agent, it'd be nice to have a firsthand knowledge of what was said, what was what the inspector found, and things like that. So it's a lot easier to talk about, and you have more validity and credibility since you were there, rather than I get these agents that they weren't at the inspection, their client wasn't at the inspection, they just sent the inspector, which we don't really allow that to happen in our situation, but we do hear about it happening, and it's kind of like that. I lose all credibility and validity, especially when the inspector on some of the stuff that comes up, and we have evidence that's saying that's really bad, that's not correct information. So that's a big problem. The other aspect of this, from my standpoint, is have you ever had an inspection and mom and dad show up and mom and dad know more about the house and the inspection and stuff like that than the inspector does? And they start going, well, this is bad. It looks like the house is about ready to fall down and things like that. And let's just say you're not there to kind of mitigate that or to kind of finesse that. I've seen a lot of deals fall apart when mom and dad think that they know more about the inspection than the inspector, and that creates a really bad situation. And it happens a lot more than most people know it does. And again, that's where selling 5,500 homes that we have a breadth of BREADTH, a breadth of knowledge regarding seeing all these different things. So 100% we require our agents to be there, and if they can't be there, one of us will be there because it's in our client's best interest.
Yeah. I've been to an awful lot of inspections for people, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you go back and say to another agent that this is what's wrong if you have not put your eyes on it. So
what's your philosophy, Maria? Do you go to your inspections?
Yeah, I go to all of them. Contractors inspection, well and septic, all of them I go to for those exact reasons, because when you're there, and not only are you feeling what the contractor is saying or the inspector is saying, but you're feeling what your client is thinking. You're kind of seeing the big picture of everything.
their
And I think
reaction
that's
to what comes
yeah. And I think that's what's important. And I like to know, I mean, I just want to know what we're dealing with. And then you can kind of be that role where you can help facilitate everything with everybody. Like you said, if you're not there, you're playing catch up, and I don't even think you can catch up, because how do you gain that knowledge? You can't. You weren't there to kind of see everything.
Perfect word, because the whole word that I'm thinking the whole time is facilitate. And you use that term, so I appreciate that. Now I want to ask you a question. So let's say you're a listing agent and your seller says, I want you, Maria, to be there at the inspection. How would you handle that?
Oh, okay. So I
Your
haven't had
seller client says, I want you
yeah.
100% to be at the inspection. You're my listing agent. I want someone there that's representing my best interests. I've gotten this many times. How would you handle that?
So I would go and let them in, but I wouldn't walk through during the inspection. I kind of would stay off to the side and let them do it. Just because I think if you get knowledge of what their inspection is, it kind of does open you up. Now you know anything. So then so now your seller knows. So now everything has to be disclosed. So I would more in that case let them in as a professional courtesy to make sure that they're not doing anything inappropriate or whatever, you know what I mean, inside. But yeah, I don't think it's my place to walk through their inspection.
Yep.
So,
What do you say to your sellers, Dave?
So I actually,
but I've never had that before. So I'm glad you brought it up.
well, and again, that's why I want to get your point of view, because part of this is what we have to understand is empathy is part of this too, is that a lot of times this is the first time someone's selling a house in a long time. And back when they did it last, the norms may have been different. So what my job is to educate them on, is that a good idea or not for me to be there? And so what I will tell them is, um, I understand why you would want someone there representing your best interest, but it's not really in your best interest, because what we're trying to do and what the inspection does for a lot of, and I see that both from a buyer's agent standpoint and a listing agent standpoint, is the contractor's inspection is for the buyer. And I do not want to do anything that's going to distract them from their inspection. And then the other part too is they're not going to be able to have normal dialogues and conversations while I'm there, and that is not in the best interest. The other big thing for me, that's their time to bond with the house as well. So they looked at it. The inspection is the second time that they're going through. They're trying to make sure that this is the right house for them. And I want them to allow them to bond with that house, get attached to it. And if I'm there, it's not going to facilitate that. And so what I will tell my clients is, I'm happy to do whatever you want me to do, but it's not in your best interest for these reasons. And 99% of the time, after I explain to them why it's not in their best interest, they go, that makes perfect sense. I totally get it. And there will be someone there. So, I mean, I don't really ever get things where they're concerned about something showing up missing or something like that. It does happen sometimes, but I'll say the buyer's agent's going to be with them the whole time. You know, it's so that's usually what I say. And I do get that probably 5 times a year. And so I'll explain it, but very rarely do I have to go to one.
I really don't know what a seller thinks they're going to gain. I can understand being protective, but they've let people through their house for showings and open houses by now, right? I can understand that. I just don't see what they think they're going to gain.
Well, I think part of it is when they come through and they say, this is wrong with the house or this is wrong with the house. Sellers think sometimes they just make that up. So that if you're there and you can confirm, and so
no, that's
there's many different reasons why they want us there, but very rarely is it ever a good idea. But we're going to take every case by case. I mean, there may be a situation that comes up where I should be there, and and at that point, then we'll make that decision. But
do you ever have? I haven't had this yet either. But do you ever have where sellers want to be there, and then what do you explain to them? I mean, because typically my experience has been, they just know they're not going to be. I tell them from the beginning when the showings, this and that, and everything, not to be there, the appraiser, all of that. But then I just say, oh, you don't need to be there. So have you had sellers that have said, oh yeah, we want to be there, and then how do you have similar conversation? I'm sure.
Easiest thing in the world, similar conversation, but one extra caveat. Mr. Seller, I don't want you there because I don't want you to be put in a position where you could contradict something you have in your seller's disclosure statement. They may start asking you about problems with the house and everything, and you think you're in normal banter, and you say something that contradicts the inspection, or you say there's something wrong and it wasn't disclosed on the seller's disclosure statement. At that point, the buyer's going to start. I mean, you've lost all trust with the buyer. And I understand you think you're doing something that's in your best interest, but it's the old adage. That's why I also tell people I prepare them up front in the listing appointment that when someone comes up for a showing and you happen to be there, they start pumping information. I tell them, hey, this Dave dude or Mueller dude, big tall redhead dude, he wants to answer all questions regarding this. I apologize. He's a control freak. Just call Dave, because I tell them once they tell them something that kind of goes toward their motivation or gives some information regarding the house, it lessens my ability to be able to negotiate on their behalf. And the whole reason they hired me is because I don't do those things pretty well. And if they lessen my ability to be able to negotiate on their behalf or to keep them out of legal issues, then that's defeating the
A lot of
purpose.
times, and what I run into is sellers do that exactly what you said. They give away things like, you know, well, I'm gotta move down here. My daughter's moved over there, and now I gotta hurry and get there. So now you've got, oh, they don't really care. They just gotta go. So they you lose your leverage in that situation. You just
That's
don't
he's used my favorite word,
you don't want to put
leverage.
anybody in a spot where they have leverage over you ever. You
And
always want to keep it.
yep. And a lot of people too, when they see the seller there, they can't envision themselves there because all they can see is it's the seller's house. They don't see it as theirs at that point, more towards like the showings and things like that. Some people, yeah, they can, but for the most part, and then just that, the buyer, the buyer's agent starts asking questions, and then you see, yes, they need to move for this, they need to move for that. And again, there goes the seller's leverage 100%.
Well, they also can't, the buyers can't feel free to walk around and bond with the house and
Put their
while the
Christmas
seller,
tree in.
yeah, while the seller's still there, or they'll do something. That's where my Christmas tree should go. And they go, why would you put it there? We always have it over here. And I've it doesn't happen very often where I see that because we pretty much don't let that happen. But every once in a while, you'll have people that are insistent on it. I mean, it happens once every couple of years, and then I'll just basically say, be there, keep your mouth shut. Ed Serval, the number one thing he taught, never miss a golden opportunity, keep your big mouth shut.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've used to this day. Um, and that's what I tell my clients. I said, and I put it on me. I said, I lose my ability to be able to help you and negotiate things like that with these different things, but you educate them. This is the reasons why you should not be there. And then you also use the empathy thing. Think about you going in and trying to buy a house and the current sellers are there and you want to talk about openly and freely about what updates you're going to do and you're afraid you're going to offend the current seller and stuff. There's a bunch of different ways, and once you explain it and educate them, they'll usually go, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we will
You
not be
want
there.
them to stay in love with your house. They don't care about you.
And
It's the
that's
house.
and really that's one of the big things with inspections is that's their time to bond with the house. So
So I want before we go because we're going to talk about the different kinds of inspections, but I have a pet peeve, and we're really bad about it. And Dave talked about seller's disclosures, and now that we are all electronic and everybody's just click, click, click through every document, sign it, hurry, hurry, hurry. We're not looking at seller's disclosures well enough. We're not, and as agents, we're not explaining to our buyers what the seller's disclosure is about. And that when you sign it, it said that you read it. And you know the fireplace doesn't work. So don't come screaming, the fireplace doesn't work. They told you the fireplace didn't work. They know that, yeah, there was water here. We put a new sump pump in or something. It has to be pointed out. I mean, and if you give it to them, Becky, one of our buyer's agents, she's taken to, and I do the same thing. I take it to showings. Here, look at this on this house. If we're at the, I don't give them to all of them. You can tell if they want one or not. But if you've got to the point where, oh yeah, this is the house we want right on, hand it to them. Please review this. This is important stuff. And it helps you when you come to your inspections. And if you've been in that house and if you don't know what a radon system looks like, and there are passive radon systems now, which you should know what they look like too. Do you still do a radon inspection? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know a little blue thing on the post might say it's, here, but it doesn't say it's working all the time to me. I want somebody to come and do that radon test. Radon is not fun.
the other part too is that so we'll get people that will not want to do a radon test, and I've had I've had radiologists, them, and they'll say, I'm not concerned about that because there's more, I mean, you get more
There's so
radon
much
gas
there.
from a microwave than you do radon gas, or he'll say something like that. And I've had a radiologist tell me that. And I'll say, you know what, it's not really, I mean, I get what you're saying. And it's not as a concern for you right now, but it will be for the buyer. And if you don't do it right now and verify if radon's above or below 4.0 picocuries per liter, if you go to sell it and they do a radon test and it's above 4.0 PCLs, you're going to be installing a radon mitigation system for an average of $1,500 in Ann Arbor, 1,800 with the permits and shit. But you're going to be paying for that. It's just like what I tell people with schools. Well, I don't have kids. It doesn't make any difference to me. Yes, it does. Because when you go to sell and they have kids, it's going to make a difference to you. So that's why I think everyone should do a radon test. I think everyone should do a contractor's inspection. And the other part about radon that's important to know is we're in a hot spot in Michigan. So Michigan's 50% of Michigan has radon. We are in an extremely hot spot
Yeah,
in
our
Washtenaw
stripe, yeah.
County. I've seen 70s, 70 in Saline. Um,
Whoa.
yep,
Not a good basement, but yeah.
yep, 70. But the other part that's interesting is do you think there's any cost difference in mitigating a 5.1 as there is a 70? It's the same cost. So what I tell people, if it's not a big deal, radon, I mean, the chances are 50% you've got radon. And then just a mitigation a mitigation system gets installed and they'll guarantee it to be below 4.0 picocuries per liter. But a lot of buyers don't even know radon or radon inspection, things like that. So it's up to us, the buyer's agent, I almost say to make sure that your client does do it. It's $90 for the test, and especially if it's part of the contract. Well,
It's more
but
than that now.
it's 90 when it's part of a contractor doing it. To get
Generally.
D&D radon out, it's probably $150 now.
That's okay. I will tell you the only other thing I will say, people say, oh, I don't have a basement. I have a crawl space. I have a crawl space in my house. All that means is that dirt that's emitting that radon is not 8 feet down, it's 5 feet down,
Even
four
closer to
feet
you.
down. At the front of my
Mhm.
house, it's this far. It's encapsulated. I do a radon test. I still, with the encapsulation, I do a radon test in my house every 3 years.
Do
I
you have radon? Do you have a system in your house or you never
no,
tested for it?
I don't. It's never tested high, and I firmly believe it's because we're close to the water. That
Mhm.
somewhere in that, because we are in that stripe. Drive 94 down to Ohio. It's well and above, even 69, 96, whatever that one is up there. Um, we have high radon. It has to do with how we glacially were, built.
In soil conditions.
Yeah, and soil, and I think that the wet soil may keep it, because I'm close to water, may help that. I've not. My daughter lives essentially at the same latitude as yeah, that's right, as I am. And when she bought her house, it tested at 26 before I mean, I sent that, no, she bought it during COVID, so we were talking a little different than normal. Sent that report to the seller's agent. Seller's agent sent it to the seller. Her 17-year-old son had been living in that basement for 10 years since he loved it. His living in that basement for 10 years. She had that in system installed the next morning before I even asked. It's like, no, I mean that's high, and it's perfect now. It runs, but it's just not. There's too many weird things that happen. We have all sorts of other weird EMFs and all that stuff. If you can get rid of radon for $1,000, get rid of radon.
So I was just listening to someone saying that they were on the buy side and there was something wrong with the septic field. And so they had put it in, they wanted they hadn't had the septic pumped and then there was something popped up on the inspection with the field. So they wanted the sellers to go ahead and get the septic cleaned and then see what was going on with the septic field and provide them the results. So they gave them a receipt that they had them out. Well, the buyers called to confirm, hey, did you pump that? And then what did you find and everything? The sellers didn't do anything. They like lied. So that was the other thing I was going to kind of bounce off of you too. When you get something back from the other side, call and confirm and make sure that even what they said happened.
I want a paid receipt or we're not closing.
Well,
they got a paid receipt. That was the worst part. But then they didn't
do it.
They didn't do it. So the receipt, I must have kind of red flagged like they didn't do it. I'm not sure. I didn't see the receipt. This was just like on Instagram. You know how everyone tells their stories. But
that'd be fraud if someone did a receipt without something really done in this area. So Kathy's the queen of well and septic, and anytime we have a well and septic issue, I just kind of say call Kathy. So the first part is most of the areas nowadays, in Michigan at least, are going over to TOS.
Time of sale,
where you have a time of sale where you have to have an acceptable well and septic report from the county in order to close. Okay.
I know Washtenaw is and Macomb is, but Oakland as a county, I don't think they are yet.
Oakland is moving to it.
They are moving towards it.
Already moved to it, and boy, are they a pain in the butt. But there's also you're talking mostly or less and less rural areas that are going to have well and septic in Wayne. They don't do a great. It really falls a lot on the agent to support this, but there's not a lot of counties. The Ingham now, I mean, but it's trickling up. I live in a county where nobody cares at all. It's awful.
Within 5 years, every single county in Michigan will have it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen in some of the rural up north areas, TC and stuff.
I think it will definitely be TC, but on the other side of the bridge, maybe. But here the issue also comes down to me, and you kind of brought this up, is who owns the report. And so that's the other part when you negotiate who's going to pay for that report. So like in Livingston County, which is where I live, it's not a TOS county. And so kind of the norms are the buyer pays for that report or pays for well and septic. And I actually like that because I like the fact that the buyer owns the well and septic report. They get their people out there to do it. So all that kind of stuff's going to be done. If it's the seller's responsibility in a place where they don't have TOS, then I'd be a little concerned that who are they hiring? And generating the report, and is the county going to look at it? Is it just coming from? So I would want to, and that's part of our job as a buyer's agent, is to make sure that it's reputable people. But if I'm in an area where there's no TOS, I'm pushing to have my client pay for it and explaining to them, I want you to own the report because again, you're buying a $300,000 house. And we have any issues with the septic, you're talking a $15,000 to $20,000 repair if something needs to be replaced or something like that. If it's a engineered field and things like that.
So I have because I know as much as, and I've learned so much over the past 20 years about well and septic, and now have it myself, it makes it even worse. But familiarize yourself with what a well and septic system are. I know there's counties up north, like by Torch Lake, they have these tanks that they come get pumped out once a month. They don't have fields. There's a lake houses where they have funky dry welly stuff.
We have a barrel in Oscoda. It's a barrel. Yeah. It's literally a barrel. That's our septic system. And then when the water came up,
that was just going to ask.
When the water came up, we had two septics. One was they put a separate septic for the front sink. That went bye-bye. So we still
Like
and
you,
we still haven't done anything with that.
but if it that sink, I'm not going to worry. If it was sewage, it
Well,
would be a whole different
it's
story.
still, yeah, but it's still going out there and it's probably disintegrating someone's sand somewhere. We
Soapy
don't,
water and crap. Yeah, that's
but,
probably.
yeah, it's the whole thing is that up there, and that's why when I bought this cottage, I was buying it as is, no inspection. That's what I had to agree to. So that kind of told you something. And everything I talked about, you have to have inspection, all this kind of stuff. I didn't do it. On the house I own right now, I didn't do an inspection of the property.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny. Well,
I
it's
knew
funny when you get them out when it's just needs to get pumped, and I love it because they come out and like, well, I hate to tell you this, but you're full of shit.
You're
need
full of
to get
shit.
it. So the one thing that drives me nuts, and I had this conversation with one of our buyer's agents, is that we don't make a point to understand what we're inspecting. We think, oh, I'm not an inspector, which is true. You're not. You're not an accountant. You're not an attorney. You're not an inspector. But how do you have a conversation with your people if you don't have a clue? We had one of our buyer's agents was super good contractor at one time, Randy. He did a lot of that work. So when he saw stuff that an inspector would point out, he could have a conversation with his buyers about what that really meant. I try to stay out of a lot of that stuff, but I've seen a lot. And I'm also super protective of the people I use for inspections. I make sure that they can have a conversation with the buyer so they understand, not this dude that does 700 inspections and, and blows up everything. He's out there looking for something to be wrong instead of things that are important, which
We
goes.
had this inspector on one of the last ones, and this is kind of the opposite side of that, but he's like, oh, I love this, everything he loved. So he came in for to this. I wonder sometimes too, like if they like it too much, and then personally, so they kind of overlook some things. He's like, oh no, this is great, everything was great, and then anything that was wrong with it kind of got overshadowed by his like love of the property. So that was an interesting one.
So went the
That's
other
they're
way.
human too.
But,
Uh-huh.
I think all this comes down to one thing that there's a common thread through all this. And I think when it comes to that well and septic report, it ends up being about 5 pages or 6 pages. Read it, read the whole thing, go through each one of it. Cause if I went through with some of our buyers agents said, well, what was the coliform count? What was this, that? What do you mean? They didn't go through and read it. They didn't know what red flags to look for. You talk about like um, like a sale. You and I were talking about this the other day, where you had a sales contract that came in from another area, and it's not, so it wasn't exactly like yours, and so there potentially there can be things in there that you're not aware of. What I tell you do? Read the whole contract,
Mm-hmm.
word, and check to see for different things.
Yeah.
And just like with these other things too, it's just and ask a lot of questions. One of the things I always tell you is what I love about you, Maria. You ask a shit ton of questions. You ask a shit ton of questions, so you
Way too many.
understand what you're talking about, right? That's
It's
wonderful
true.
because most agents they're not going to ask and become knowledgeable. You want to know. You are a control freak. You want to be able to understand and be able to talk to your clients, and that's what makes you part of the 10%. So,
Yep.
The 10 percenters, they drive me crazy. Understand well and septic. If you have different, if you're in different areas, I mean, there will be people that come watch this. I know in Tennessee, this kid that I was just showing houses, he said, "Oh, we do well and septic completely different." Like, how can you do it different? It only goes one way, right? Out. But it's okay. I mean, they have it. They understand their rules. Why do we do another one of our inspections? We're talking about sewer scopes.
so this is what I want to ask you, Maria, is have you done a sewer scope on a property where it's in a subdivision and it's public sewer, but do you do sewer scopes?
So yeah, there was one. I did have one, my first ever sale, And it wasn't in a subdivision though, but the inspector came out, just the the contract inspection, and he recommended, he said, listen, there's a lot of mature trees here. He's like, I highly recommend you get a sewer inspection. And sure enough, the pipes were full of tree roots. So what did we do? We ended up, oh, I think taking a credit for it for him. He was a first time buyer with not a lot of funds. So we got a credit, and I told him the same thing. Do you want better you to do the work, get a quote, you'll know that the work got done right. So then that's what happened. And yeah, there was a bunch of roots in there. So, yep.
It's extremely important in what we have in Michigan and or in our neck of the woods, but well, especially so houses that are built in like 1950 to 1965, there's something called Orangeburg that they use for the sewers.
It was a tile product that was not tile, it's paper,
And
essentially.
and and its
Big
useful
happy.
life. I got in the business in 1993, and that's about the time a lot of these things were dying from 50. So that would have been 40, 50 years. And so what was happening is these sewer systems were collapsing. And then what would happen is you got to go through and you got to dig, you got to redo everything. And then back then it was $5,000 to go through and do that. And one of the big marketing things now is we've had the Orangeburg replaced. And so now pretty much in our area where we do business, almost every single deal, even if it's built in 1970, 1980, people are doing a sewer scope. And that's one of the things that a lot of people are not aware of that. And so that's one of the things we wanted to bring to light too, is that if you've got houses, especially if they're like 1940 to 1965, 100% every single time, I would do a sewer inspection. And then if I was the buyer's agent too, I would get on my municipal site, like in Ann Arbor, I'd go into the city and see if any type of permit was pulled for any type of sewer work. So I'd want to find that out too. And just ask the other agent too, has Orangeburg been replaced?
And a lot of people aren't going to know. Here in Ann Arbor, we have pretty high turnover in some of our areas, and they don't have a clue because the person before them didn't do it, the person before, and we are getting a little past it where most of it's done. But the important thing that I think for you, I mean, and this holds true for a million things. People love to have trees. They don't want the stuff that comes with it, right? You don't want a rake. You don't want to have to worry about your sidewalk and stuff heaving and stuff on your roof but you want trees. I want to live in where there's mature trees. And you've got a collapsing or failing sewer system. You're feeding those trees and they're going to be beautiful and it's wonderful. But that's super important. There's still some funky little areas east of here towards Ipsy that haven't been changed out. They don't turn over as fast as we do, but every place has this issue. It's not just a Michigan and Ann Arbor issue. It's
all
over the country that that. And again, I go back to understanding what the heck. I mean, I don't expect you to be able to look at the little video they say and go, oh yeah, I see it. All you're seeing is water going by looking silly. But you can see if there's a break. And you get better at it, but be there one, because you're not sending somebody into somebody's house to take the top off their sewer, or sometimes they have to take off a toilet to get to that, or don't have a good clean out. And make sure that you're there, but get it. Don't wait, unless do them all at one time if you can. Don't go, oh gosh. Now, I mean, there are times the inspector's going to say, hey, this looks like this is just not running right. You're not, when you're looking at a house, filling up the bathtub. So if you wonder why the inspector's filling up the bathtub and all the sinks, he's trying to figure out if the water drains, right? So that's what he's doing that for. But understand that. And if you're like, oh, this tub's never going to empty, you got an issue somewhere.
You want to do that sewer scope and try to kind of coordinate it with your inspections and stuff. We find that someone will do an inspection. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a sewer scope. We can't get someone else for 4 days. We're gonna be 3 days past the inspection point. So I would kind of have those conversations with your client up front, and it shouldn't be something to kind of maybe think about after. I would kind of just do everything up front, especially in that year built, I'd say 19, like I said, 1940, 1965 for sure. Then the last one, I think we should talk about that, even though it doesn't really do much for Michigan, but there's a lot of
more. So here's
talk about termite wood destroying.
Wood destroying. We positively have a plethora of carpenter ants, and people don't think about carpenter ants as much as they think about termites. We have carpenter ants in Michigan. You have carpenter ants everywhere. We have a lot of woods in Michigan. We have a lot of trees in Michigan because we have wonderful wet soil that supports great forests and stuff. We also, with the changing climate, are seeing way more termites. Just like we're seeing way more mosquitoes because our weather is not cold enough in the winter to kill off these insects. Termites didn't used to come up here because it was too cold and they would just die. They lay their eggs would die because it's cold, it freezes. Hopefully this winter killed everything, especially the mosquitoes, because it was really cold. But we have termites now. The only person the VA made you do a termite inspection because that was a nationwide kind of a program. But we do have carpenter ants and we have termites now. And that's fine. If you feel like you need to do that, when you're looking at a house, and this is my one thing about why we do inspections, and Dave kind of alluded to it a little bit, is in what's reasonable and what you're really going to look for and why you do it. Safety, yes. But what you're looking for, because you've gone through a house and you may have gone in the basement and seen there was, oh gosh, there's a little dampness on that wall, or something's not perfect. It's hidden things that you're looking for that you can't see, that you shouldn't understand. Did you go in the attic when you were looking at the house to buy before you made an offer? Probably not. Did you really look up, at the wood? Did you really walk around the outside of the house and see what was going on? So those things that are hidden, that's what in my mind, you're really looking for. Things you didn't see. If you've got a broken front window, this is one of well, you saw that, for gosh sakes, when you made your offer,
Then now you're trying to come and renegotiate the price based on that.
Yeah, you saw so many things you positively saw, right? So those in my mind are not reasonable. You saw it, you made the offer with this. Oh, but now I got to change it. But so there are things that are hidden, right? There is mold, which we could talk about for days, or mold-like substance.
And that's the big one now. I mean, every era has their big thing. Like for us, I mean, it was at one time it was EMFs, electromagnetic fields. Then radon was the big buzzword. Now it's mold, and we joke with our clients that, especially when certain inspectors are doing the inspection, I'll joke with my clients. Oh, by the way, you have mold. You have mold. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, after they're done with the inspection, there's going to be something coming back to us saying that there's a mold-like substance in the attic. How do you know that? Watch. I'll bet you $100. Almost every single inspection we get back now, there's a mold-like substance in the attic. And the problem with just the contractors want a CYA, cover your, you know what, and then so what they're going to do is say there's a mold-like substance. They're not saying there's mold or anything. So what does that do automatically for a buyer? Oh my God, we got mold. We want that to get mitigated. And so a seller, you can't really call a mold person to come and do testing on mold because that's going to be a couple $1,000 to do the testing on it. So, and to mitigate it is what? A couple $1,000. So this is a big old, again, this is my personal opinion. It's a racket. Where they come through and they say there's a mold-like substance, and now the seller has to go through and get it mitigated. And it's going to cost the same to have someone come out. And then the people that are saying if there's mold or not are the same people that mitigate it anyways. So there's a conflict of interest there. But that's the big thing right now but as a buyer's agent, 100%, I'm going to be negotiating that saying, hey, there's mold-like substance. As a listing agent, I cry bullshit. And that the mold-like substance is okay. Go do a test. You, the buyer, go do a test. This is your inspection period. You go do a test and tell me it's mold. Well, that's going to be $2,000. Yeah. So that's that dance.
This is my rebuttal, and we have this conversation. It's not really a rebuttal. And we're going to go back to Michigan, of course, because that's what we know. But gosh, it's got to be areas in the South that are in the same boat. And this is one of the things Dave doesn't, we don't do inspections prior, but I would love to have every seller we have go up into their darn attic. People don't go in their attics. We're in Michigan. We have attics, we have basements. There's crap in people's basements they haven't moved in 30 years. There's crap if there's anybody. We don't use our attics. We have them. We don't use them because of their cold, how our houses are built here. We don't use them. That haven't been in their attic since they moved in. They might have stuck a trunk up there or a box of something Christmas stuff, and they don't go up and they don't see. They don't know, because they're not looking at their roof all the time either, that there's this funky little thing, and now it's starting to spread. Get ahead of that, if you ask me. I firmly believe it, because you can fix it. I mean, you can spray it.
No, well,
Dave says no.
This is going to be our final question from Maria, okay? Because you brought this up, and I think this was regarding inspections, okay? Should your seller do a pre-home inspection, Maria?
I didn't say they should do a pre-home inspection.
This has nothing to do with you, Miss Narcissist. This has to do, I'm asking Maria, should your seller do a pre-home inspection prior to listing their home?
I can answer this one confidently. I have shifted back and forth. I did think at one point that could be a good way to offset some of those requests that you get, but there is that same thing that you said. Now you know everything, so you have to disclose everything. But just to say what Kathy said, though, I don't think it would be a bad idea, though, because you can have, attic people come out. They'll take a look at your, not a full not a home inspection, but the attic people, have them take a look just maybe at your attic and see what's going on up there with the mold issue. Maybe that, especially in Michigan, now that it's kind of a big thing, and then kind of see what you could do with that, spray it, get it mitigated, whatever. But to the actual home inspection, I don't know, Dave. Now you got me teeter-tottering what you're going to say.
So first of all, doing the whole mold thing is that you're bringing in someone that I will make a bet with you that if you brought in 10 mold people will tell you that you have some type of mold up there, and they will give you a quote for what it would take to repair it, okay, or do something. So getting back to the inspection aspect of it is 100% you're going to have
mold.
Once you just getting back to the inspection of overall, and pre-home inspection is, so 100%, if this person says this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, do you have to disclose that from that point forward? Now, there's also debate regarding that because it's one person's opinion. But the fact that you have that knowledge now, my biggest concern would be is, let's say the buyer, you don't disclose the stuff. The buyer hires that same inspector to do their home inspection, because they're still going to do an inspection, whether you do a pre-home inspection or not. And you didn't disclose to them, and then that inspector goes, Well, I've already inspected this home for a pre-home inspection. I told them all these things were wrong, but they're not on the seller's disclosure statement. So the other aspect of this too is exactly what I just said. One person's opinion. You could have a home inspector come out to tell you all the things that's wrong with your house. You go through and repair all those. Buyer does a home inspection. None of those things come up on their inspection that you just took care of, or that, or let's say you didn't do anything. You had the inspector come out, they tell you all things wrong, you say, I'm just gonna let it slide. You have the actual buyer inspection. None of those things come up on the inspection, but they've got a list of 20 other things.
And then you're like, what the hell? I
And I've
just did
seen
this
that
inspection.
happen a bunch.
Yeah,
We've had deals fall
Yeah.
through. We've had deals fall through, and the first inspector does this. The second comes up with totally different items, and so why would I want to spend that money on the inspection? Now I
Yeah.
potentially have disclosure issues, and then the bigger part for me is the buyer inspection comes through, and it's totally a list of everything else.
Yep. And I've learned from you guys and then just experience now too. But you always have told me, like, kind of sometimes some things now you just have to deal with it when they come up. There are things you cannot know everything. And
Can't control
you
everything.
can't control the outcome and you just kind of have to deal with it, work together, try to find a solution everyone can be happy with, because at the end of the day that's what matters, that everyone is happy, that somebody got what they wanted, somebody else got what they wanted, and just
Win-win.
deal with it, a win-win, deal with it as it and I like to be prepared, but I've learned now, like, from you guys, and this, like, you have to let some things go and kind of just tackle it when you know it's an issue. Don't make it an issue.
And as we've told you too, some of that comes with age. So just
Some of it comes with experience.
Lots of
well,
experience.
age and experience. But like I said, I used to be very much like you early on in my career, where I tried to control every aspect of it, and then it's the whole grace to know when to let go and just let the guy upstairs figure things out for you.
Well,
Uh,
because sometimes some of the things that you want to control, they don't even matter to anybody else.
Nope.
They're just in your head that they matters to you. The buyer might not care, the seller might not care, and you're like so wrapped around tight around this like notion that you have to have, and no one even cared, and you're like, well, oh, why did I care so much?
That's part of one of the things I was going to say is when they come back different. We ran into it not all that long ago, and the other people are like freaked out about HVAC. and they don't know HVAC. They don't understand HVAC. They don't know what's happening. And that's part of an agent's job, to be educating a little better. And then the next person that comes along, we don't know that maybe their dad is the, HVAC king of whatever. And it just isn't as important to them. But a roof may be important, something like that. It's just what other people's personal experience is, and you can't plan for that. You cannot. You just have to let that ride. But I'm going to go back on this mold thing. If you went down in your basement, you moved all the boxes and the canning goods and everything you've done, pulled some shelves away, and you found some crap back there or a little puddle, would you fix it? Yeah. If you generally your mold in your attic, it's not coming because it's magic. It's because you got a leak somewhere. Fix your damn roof. Are you not going to fix your front window that's got a crack in it? If you can. I mean, sometimes those are hard, but things like that. Your ice maker's not working, stuff like that. You're going to fix those things before you put your house on the market. Even if it's just paint and carpet, you're going to do those things before you put your house on the market. Just go and look where you haven't been in your dumb house. Michigan, freezing, weird stuff, different. I was listening to how short of water is in Denver this year, and it's super dry. And people, and it's going to be really hot, and they're telling people not to turn their sprinklers on this weekend. Thinking, March. Sprinklers are not going on.
I was just I'm looking for an outdoor rug, and I had one in my cart and it said out of stock. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's only like 20 degrees out. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's probably, I haven't looked, but 70s, 80s in the South. I'm like, oh, that's why all the
They're
summer
doing this
stuff.
too, just like we are going up and down.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
take the time to walk through your house when you're getting ready to do that. I literally have to either be on my boat. I went out when the lake was frozen to look at my roof. I can't see my roof any other way. So I went out in the middle of the lake when I knew it was frozen to see what my roof looked like. People don't look. They don't even know they've got these trees over there until it starts bashing their window, right? Those kind of things are in preparation for listing, and Dave can talk to all the things that do that. But if the seller's smart, then it's caught before it becomes an issue. It's simple,
Yeah.
and don't make it so that a buyer's going to look and say, well, if you didn't do this, what else didn't you do? Right.
One last question to end this
Cool.
this Zoom.
Good.
All right,
Mhm.
Maria, you're on the hot seat again.
All right, let's do it.
So you go and do a walkthrough for a potential listing, and you eyeball the roof, and the roof looks old as hell. And so you're going through everything, and then the seller goes, Dave, or Maria, the roof is 35 years old. We don't have any leaking. It's been fine, everything like that, but it's 35 years old. Yeah, and looks like there's some curling shingles and things like that. Maria, should I replace the roof?
Okay, I'm gonna give you my honest answer. What I learned just with the basements.
Honest? Well, I was expecting you to lie to us.
No. This. Oh, I guess I'm saying I'm gonna give you my take, whether it be right or wrong.
There's no right
I
or wrong answer.
with these big ticket items that can come up and pose a threat later on, make your days on market more, make you like you show good, maybe in your pictures you get tons of showing, you're not getting any offers. These big ticket things, yes, 100% you need someone to look at it. Let's see what's wrong with it. And yes, I'm gonna recommend from my experience these big ticket items that you get them taken care of, because all the things I just said are going to be an issue and it's going to push everything out. You're going to end up losing more money in the long run. That's been my experience.
What's your response?
Well, part of Maria's is a market situation. Our market is not, I mean, yes, we still are in a seller's market. It's not quite, I'm going to overlook everything under the sun anymore. I might pay you a little more, but it better be in damn good shape, right? So what I think, a couple things I take from Dave on this is,
well, yeah, tell her what Dave's response would be.
I hope it's the same as yours.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Be anything. I get quizzed on things and the answers are different every time. But anyway,
I know exactly what
I know. So here's my take, and I like what you said, and I do like the shifting. And Dave's probably going to say, "Don't do it. Let the next person deal with it."
No, for the basement, he told me.
Dave will say, "Don't do it." I'll give you that part.
Not for the basement, you didn't. For the basement, you said you need to get in there and see, because, well, no, you said, but then you have to disclose. You did say that it could, go both ways, but okay,
well,
go ahead.
Because a basement will with
that
a basement, you're talking about an uncertain amount. You could have in a roof. I mean, you have an idea of what the roof's going to be. It's going to be fair. You could have one person on that basement that says the wall needs to be replaced. You could have another person that says it just needs some support beams. And so I would want to be proactive in that regard, because I'd rather get the person out there that says it just needs the beams. We'll shore up the mortar. I've got a warranty. I've got something saying it's been done. So now I've got peace of mind. A roof.
Okay, let's hear the roof.
Here's my roof.
Okay.
You asked me what I would do. So I have a couple thoughts. I mean, and again, it's never going to be one answer only. Right? And
For the record, mine's one answer only.
I'm never gonna be one. This is how I process shit. So, oops. And you talk about this. There are times when you know damn well these people couldn't put a roof on to save their life. They can't afford it.
This is
Right?
true.
Does that matter? Yeah. If somebody can afford to put a new roof on, and this is the most important thing, and it's the only thing, let them put the damn roof on. But it's not a one answer situation. If you ask me, it's never a one answer situation. You have to figure out.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Dave over here.
I know
It is a one answer situation, just not for you, but that's okay.
No, I agree with Kathy. I like what you said. So now, Dave, what do you think? Now, how is this going to go?
Well, let's use an example. I'm not bossy. I'm opinionated, and I'm steadfast in my opinion, just because I've dealt with this opinion for a long time. So I had a house 2 doors down from us where I live. And the guy came to us and said right up front, it needs a new roof. I've had people out, it's at the end of its life, it's 35 years old and things like that. But I don't want to replace it. And again, I would have told them, you don't need to replace it anyways.
He didn't have any issues with the roof, though,
No.
just that it was.
But it was 35 years old and it looked like shit. And on the contractor's inspection, they said the roof needs to be replaced. So here's my philosophy on this, is that if you go and replace that roof right then and there, and let's say you've got 3 bids and they all come in around 35,000, how much are you going to spend on that roof? 35,000. Now, if they go through do the contractor's inspection, and again, this is also part of what I feel are my negotiating skills.
Oh, I like this. I know where you're going with this.
So, so the buyer comes and says, this roof needs to be replaced. And of course, I'll go, really? Oh, yeah, man, I guess it is toward the end of its life. Oh, you want a whole brand new roof? Wait a second here. You're going to get a brand spanking new $35,000 roof. My seller gets no benefit of the improvement whatsoever. Your buyer is going to have a brand new roof for the next 30 years. Why should my seller be responsible for that whole cost? We'll split it 50-50 with you. Doesn't that seem fair? You get a brand spanking new roof. We give you 50% toward that, and you can do it however you want to do it. And of course, Dave's going to go get, the average range will be 35. I'm going to find someone to do for 22. So I also put in their doubt that, yeah, they can get, I can go get someone for 22,000. So I'll give you 15 or 17 toward that, and you can pay 5,000 more to get it done, or you can go creme de la creme for 35 grand, totally up to you. And so what did I just do?
Saved your buyer a lot, seller a lot.
I saved my seller $17,000 probably. But
so the roof, it's different than the basement. The basement is a structural thing. It's like people need, roof too, but it's not as scary, I guess.
It's just, he knows more about roofs than he does about basements. How about that?
No. Oh, hell no. The first thing I do when I work with buyers, I go down to the basement and check for bad basements, bad furnaces, bad plumbing. But the thing with a basement is that's your foundation. That is the heart of the house. You have a bad foundation. God knows how much shifting and stuff like that's been going on. I want that remedied, and I don't want that to be a question mark. And I want that taken care of. We've got a listing coming up in Plymouth, and there's water coming in from this area, and 100%, you need to get that taken care of. And because there's other ones where they did take care of it, and you can see the rods exposed and stuff like that, no water at all. And then you see this wet spot water. So you need to take care of that it's a $550,000 house too. And it's not that expensive a repair for it, but foundation, it scares me, and I don't get scared by much. Foundation scare the hell out of me. And if there's a house with a bad foundation, first of all, from a listing agent standpoint, I'm just going, shit. And I'm going to get 3 people out. I'm going to get people out to look at it and give me an opinion, even if my client doesn't want to take care of it. We talked about this. I'm
Yep.
gonna get the opinions. I want to get a number also because if someone comes in and they do say that it's bad, I want to already have information about what the reality is.
Yep. And but the thing about roofs, so not to switch back, but there are people when you have an old roof, it may be old and yes, it's in its lifespan, needs to get repaired. But people get new roofs just because they want that, maybe that, the white farmhouse look with the black shingles. So they'll get a new roof to get black shingles or whatever their look is. And then they have issues, I've heard. They'll get leaks with the new roof. Maybe it wasn't put on right. So I always think about that. I'm like, newer isn't always better. Those old appliances, oh my gosh, they're still running. You get my microwave is a new one. I've had to replace it every 2-3 years. The thing goes out. It's like, some of that old stuff is, yeah, it's old, but it's still kicking. So I think
Well,
about that too.
Wait. I want you to do something for me. We're ending at 12:30, drop dead. Okay. I want you to negotiate a roof from the buyer's side. This is my favorite thing to do with Dave. Because what he's gonna, and we always say a house has to have a
so
roof. So I love
that's not
watching Dave
that's
do
not
this.
fair because well, who you want me to negotiate it with, you or Maria?
Maria.
And wait a minute, Dave is the buyer side or the seller
He's
side?
gonna be
Yep,
the
so
buyer.
you're the listing
I'm not gonna
company.
get a word in edgewise, so it doesn't really matter.
You're the listing company. So hey Maria, this is Dave Mueller. Yeah, we just got done with the inspection and man, that roof is bad. That roof is gone. It needs to be replaced. It needs to be replaced immediately. The inspector said it's gone. The other part too is that for insurance purposes, they're gonna want a newer roof. They're gonna have to pay an extra couple $1,000s now with the age of the roof in order to get it replaced. We need to get this replaced or they're walking. I've got three bids. They're all $35,000. So I'm here. I'll send you over the bids, but it's 35 grand or they're walking. I mean, uh, it's leaking right now. You can see there's signs of mold up in the attic. And we're not going to ask for anything else. And there's other stuff that came up, Maria. I mean, there's plumbing that's misplaced. We got cracks in the cement. The appliances are old. They're going to have to replace the flooring where the dog ripped that up. The basement, I've got leaks down there. I mean, we've got probably about $6,000-7,000 worth of stuff, but we just want to concentrate on this roof, and we're being extremely fair. So, 35 grand. Again, I'm telling you right now, they're going to walk if we don't get this new roof, because again, they've got a son that's asthmatic. The mold's already a problem. We got to get this done. What do you think?
I think we
Well,
should just have a show of Dave negotiating stuff.
I know. Yes, we should do that.
That's my favorite thing to do.
No. But
It's good.
answer me.
This is-
Answer.
What would you say?
Well, I would say, you know what?
Talk to me. I'm the listing. You just tell me. We just had the conversation.
Well, send over what you have. I'm gonna present it to the seller, and then I'm just thinking. So then I'm gonna probably come back to you and say something along the lines of, well, first I got to talk to the seller and see, but I'm gonna say something like, hey, listen, the roof. I mean, you saw it when you got there. I just can't see that.
Oh, there was no way I could tell from the roof. I mean, hey, that's way up there. I could
Yeah,
not see any curling, but once we got the drone up there and we're able to take a look at it, and I will send you over the pictures of how bad this roof is effed up big time. It's curling. I mean, it looks like the gutters are coming out from other that. I mean, we probably got gutter issues as well. We probably got 35 to 5,000 worth of gutter issues. We'll just deal with that part. We just need the roof. But
right.
I mean, I can't imagine that your seller didn't know that this roof was on its last legs. But I mean, it's gone. I mean, and you know what? They're already coming up with every dollar they have, every penny they have to come with the down payment because they can't afford the mortgage unless they get the 20% down so they don't pay PMI. So they've come up with all their money. So they need this taken care of. And again, we much rather just do it ourselves so the credits could be the way to go. But no, I mean, it should have been disclosed a little bit that roof was on its last legs.
Well, so the seller went ahead and had a couple of companies come out to take a look at it. So
Did
they're
you
coming
disclose that on
in,
the disclosure that you had some people look at it?
though this was after you already sent over your.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
so we
how are
wanted to,
you?
well, we were looking for a quote and we saw that it's only going to cost about this much. So I just don't see why, my sellers are going to pay for the buyers to have a whole new roof for 30 years. So why don't we do this? We'll go ahead and take a look at that, for around 20,000 and split the cost. We'll
Well,
go in for
you're
a
going to be
portion.
paying 35. You're going to be replacing that roof no matter what. If this deal falls through, which it likely will at this point, because my people have no more money, you're going to have to disclose that that roof is gone, and you're going to be replacing that roof either for my client or someone else, and it's 35 grand. I mean, 20,000. I saw the quote you got for 20 grand, and they're not replacing any of the decking that's gone. It's a crappy contractor. I've dealt with them in the past. They suck. We have to have a certain level. We just don't trust that contractor. So we need to have that 35 grand.
Yep, and I understand that, and I totally see where
I
you
don't
guys
think
are
you do
coming from.
understand.
Hold on, my setup here is falling down. I'm set up here with the, hold on one second. I get my.
If anybody out there that's watching this doesn't think this is real, this is how Dave gets things done for people.
I love it. I love just listening. That's why I'm having a
He
hard
may
time
be
listening to
giving
Dave.
Maria a little more grief than he would, but
I think
Oh,
he
I
is.
don't know about that, but I mean, because a lot of this is, so the first part is, but
I don't
first
come
part
on
of it's,
strong, Dave. Like I listen to you and I love your approach. I could listen to it all day. But I tell you sometimes, and you can like it's the subtle that gets things done sometimes. I hate to say it, but it can sometimes.
but the other part too, that how I would counteract me is I would say, hey, Dave, you're coming out a little strong here. Okay. You need to back off. I've heard you. I understand where you're coming from. Um, that's all I really need at this point, Dave. Okay. I will talk with my client. I will go over, I will give them your point of view. And I will come back with you with what hey, I'm just going to cut to the chase, tell you the most my sellers are willing to do. If your client wants to walk, that's up to y'all. Okay. I'll put this back on the market and get more money probably that will help me pay toward that roof. If you want to take that opportunity to potentially lose this house, get another multiple offer situation. I think you said, Dave, that your clients lost out on 3 houses and got outbid on 3 houses. You want to go back on that merry-go-round carousel again? Is that worth to you the difference in price? So that's how I would handle the response back to me.
I like
Um,
it.
but the other part too is it's all about leverage as well. Is I'd want to know what your situation is. Is the house vacant? Are you going to have carrying costs another month and a half? So I'd bring up those types of things. But so I mean that this goes past inspection to negotiations. And it's about knowing the players in the negotiation.
you can't do this in a vacuum
No,
without knowing the whole thing.
and a lot of
It's
times,
fun, but it's
yeah, and a lot of times I'm not the one that I'll have Kathy negotiate it. Seriously.
No, it's the same thing, and it's what I was going to say is back to you can't be Dave. You cannot do it like this. So you learn a way, and we do a lot of good cop, bad cop. Lots
100%.
of good cop, bad cop. Not everybody has that ability to do that. Not everybody has that situation. But I can't do that like Dave. But I have my own ways of getting people to think, oh gosh, you're right. I should be doing this, and making them think it was their idea. It's wonderful.
That's the thing. The funny thing is, Susan and I, my partner Susan and I, she kind of goes, she uses the word manipulation, and I say I don't see it as manipulation. I look at it as getting the other party to come to my way of thinking. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to bully them. I'm not trying to manipulate them. Maybe I am though. But all I'm trying to do is have them come to my way of thinking. And I'm going to explain my point. And then it's, and sometimes I will have people that will shut me. And I know how I shut me down. But it's the question comes down to is, will the other person do it? And sometimes,
Seldom.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to tell someone to shut up. And seriously.
Mhm.
No, you do. You
So,
no, I love listening to it. I love to hear how you do it, and it's so helpful. And then to even hear how you would negotiate back the other side. And to Kathy's point,
she
Doing
does this.
that.
She
I
does this to
love
me all the
doing
time because I'll have
my favorite
I
thing to
have
do on these.
I'll have a viewpoint that I'm very strong about, okay, for like on one side, and then she'll say, okay, switch it around, and you would think after we're done that that was my real viewpoint.
It's always the best one, and I should find it and post it again because people have forgotten is the commission and buyer's agents how it's like
That's just leverage. Yeah.
it's just the funniest thing ever. But I said, okay, Dave, flip, and he does, and you're like, you're right, I shouldn't be doing that, and I'm believing him, because he's very passionate and believable. So
Well,
yes,
that's really what it all.
talented. No,
authentic.
100%.
Well, I think no. What it just comes down to is just it's just your confidence level and its age.
It's not,
It's
it's
age.
but I don't want to be limited by that. But again, I'm going to go back to everything we talked about. Dave knows what he's talking about. He's read, he's researched, he's obviously experienced. But, all this new BA stuff,
What's Dave? Let's see if we're going to see if she on the
quiz,
quiz. What's Dave's number one fear in life?
not being prepared.
Appearing ignorant. Yep.
I don't like him to appear ignorant. I like him not being prepared, but that he does not, and the best way to not appear ignorant is to be prepared.
Research,
You've done
research,
your
read.
job. Read. I mean, we started talking about before the change in BA, we started talking about that months before all of this stuff, months, and reading and looking at other people's opinions and being prepared and then making it your own.
I read an article before where like some of the smartest people are not the ones, they're the ones that will look at another opinion and they will try to learn it from all sides, not the people that are just only their own opinion, because if you can take other people's opinions into it, it just makes you a lot stronger, and then you're more open to or you know what I mean, you're able to take all of that in.
There's way more information than most people even want to think about. So,
Yeah, it's
Well, but I think the other key of that too is to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So you get different people's points of views and stuff like that. And it's funny,
Yeah.
like we get all this stuff with politics about Trump and all these different stuff. And I love hearing both sides because she's very anti-Trump. I'm around people that are very pro-Trump, and I love to hear everyone say their thing. And I'm very apolitical. I think they're all buffoons and idiots. But it's just but it's fun to hear different people's points of view, and I love to see the passion. I love to see their passion about it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and
there's a lot of that.
Politics. Okay,
There's-
done. No more.
All
Maria,
right,
we,
awesome.
12:31.
we appreciate you, Maria.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys too. This was fun.
Have a great day and let us know if you need anything. And just so you
Sounds
know,
good.
I love it when you call us, by the way. So